Hey everyone, you're tuned into Turkish Spotlight Secrets, where whispers turn into the stories everyone can't stop talking about. Settle in, because today's buzz is sizzling, and it revolves around two names that light up every screen they touch, Sinem and Ozan Baba. Word on the street says the pair slipped away to Spain, hand in hand, and sealed their love in a ceremony so private, it might as well have been a dream seen through a keyhole. And then, bam! Images surface, and the entire entertainment world forgets how to breathe. The first photo landed like a spark in dry summer grass. A sun-kissed plaza of a historic Spanish city, pale stones glowing amber as the evening slid toward gold. Against that impossible light, a ceremony set up, no giant floral arches, no glittering chandeliers, just quiet elegance, the kind that whispers rather than shouts. The claims arrived fast. This was their wedding, intimate and intentional, with a guest list so limited it felt like a secret shared between hearts. And yes, the details in those images told their own story. Sinem, luminous and composed, in a gown that didn't compete with her, but framed her, modern, clean lines, a silhouette that moved like a sigh in the breeze. Beside her, Ozan Baba in a suit cut with that timeless meets now confidence, the kind of tailoring that sits on a man like he was born in it. From the moment those photos began to circle the timelines, comments poured in like confetti. Fans who have watched them grow across their projects didn't hesitate for a second. This is right, this is natural, this is the ending we've all been writing in our minds. Others, more cautious, whispered that without confirmation it's all rumor, but even then, they couldn't deny what the images suggested. A calm around the couple, a relief almost, as if they had finally arrived at the scene they'd been rehearsing for with every smile, every quiet glance, every stolen moment away from the set. What drew everyone in wasn't extravagance. It was restraint, a ceremony that wore its heart on its sleeve and nothing else. Simple flowers clustered like secrets, white chairs and neat lines across old stone, the sunset playing its final act like it had been hired for the night. The vibe was not look at us, but let us be. And that, more than anything, set this apart. The images felt like they belonged to the couple before anyone else, and that sense of ownership made them irresistible to the rest of us. Naturally, the question boiled over, why Spain? Why take this supposedly life-changing moment out of Turkey, out of the spotlight that has loved them and followed them and pressed its face to every window? The whispers behind the scenes tell a story that makes sense. The relentless tempo of their schedules. The weight of being watched even on rest days. The ache for something quiet, for a celebration that depends on two people and not 1,000 expectations. Spain, with its labyrinthine streets, its breath of the Mediterranean, its stone balconies and sleepy courtyards, offered them exactly that. A place where lovers can be lovers without a second pair of eyes counting their smiles. Those who claim to know insist that the guest list was so small it could be held in the palm of the hand, family, the truest friends, people who have seen them away from the cameras and know what their laughter sounds like in kitchens at midnight. And if you look closely at those photos, that intimacy feels true. A toast raised not for the nation to see but for the table to feel. The kind of ceremony where you hear the clink of a glass, the catch in a throat, the scrape of a chair as someone stands to speak and can't quite find the words fast enough. But of course, the plot thickens when silence follows a storm. No formal announcement from Sinem. None from Ozan Baba. Not a single caption to anchor the night in certainty. Not even a wink. The tabloids absolutely feasted on that. The absence of a statement sounded louder than any press release. Gossip writers sharpened their pens and pulled up their sleeves, promising that in days, hours, even, we'd be seeing clearer angles, longer glimpses, maybe even a soft drop post from one of the pair, sealing the speculation with the kind of minimal caption that sends the internet into a tailspin. Still, for the fans, it didn't matter. The photos were enough. They hit share, they hit like, they hit save. Some wrote that this was the wedding they'd always imagined for them. Not a carnival, but a confession. Others pointed out that the couple's history of guarding their private lives explains everything. Of course they didn't parade through Istanbul in a gilded carriage. Of course they chose a sunset in Spain, a city that turns everything tender once the day thins out and the lamps begin to glow. Spain fits their aura, they said. Spain is the mood that makes sense. And that mood, oh, it sang in every frame. The way the light embraced the stone like old lovers. The drift of a veil caught mid-air as if even the fabric couldn't wait to follow the evening. A bouquet that looked like a handful of small promises rather than a performance. Guests, whoever they were, kept out of focus, their expressions blurred not by accident but by intention, the camera asking us to look not at them, but at the center, two people who have earned their peace and chosen it deliberately. Right away, the debate became less about whether the ceremony happened and more about what it meant. Was this a declaration that their relationship, long admired and held gently by the public, had finally crossed the threshold we all suspected it would? Or was it a different kind of message, that not every chapter needs to be co-authored by the press? Industry insiders chimed in, believing that Spain was planned from the first conversation, both for its beauty and its safety. A stage they could fill with their own script without cutting scenes for a crowd. The best part of the story is that it feels like them. The minimalism, the focus, the refusal to do anything for show. Those who have followed Sinem's choices know she doesn't need to be louder than the work, and that even in a white dress she would still be herself, uncomplicated, luminous, grounded. Those who love Ozan Baba know he would never outshine her, but stand just enough to the side that his presence is an anchor, not a spotlight. Side by side, they look like they've been planning not just a day, but a philosophy: love is enough, the rest is set dressing. Meanwhile, on social media, the echoes keep multiplying. One platform splashes the photos across every trending page, while another threads theories like string on a map. A fan who swears she saw the pair slip into a quiet cathedral in the late afternoon and emerge with eyes a little brighter. A waiter who claims he served a table of 8 that laughed so hard the chairs tilted. An onlooker who noticed the way Ozan reached for Sinem's hand, not in the way of a man who wants to be seen, but in the way of a man who wants to feel her pulse one more time. And then there's the fashion breakdowns, because we live for the details. That gown. Its line, its sheen, its refusal to steal attention from the woman wearing it. The suit, sharp, understated, with a tie that looked just loose enough to breathe once the vows were said. The tones, ivory, slate, a trace of olive stone from the setting itself. The effect, effortless elegance, as if the couple had asked the day to dress itself. In the background, the speculation machine continues to hum. We're hearing that the couple's teams have been fielding calls all day. That magazine editors are begging for an official photo, any photo. That the first verified image, if it lands, will not be a gallery but a single shot, maybe a close-up of their hands, maybe a profile where the evening light paints them gold. That the caption, if there is one, will be a whisper, just a date, just a city, just enough to confirm everything without giving away anything at all. It's impossible to ignore how perfectly this supposed ceremony aligns with a long pattern. Both actors have never been loud about their private moments. Their interviews tilt toward the work, not the dinner reservations. Their posts, when personal, are measured, thoughtful, generous without being revealing. If a wedding did happen, it makes sense it would be hushed, no fireworks, only a sun that knows how to set, only a breeze that knows when to turn pages. Remember how the rumor started? A single image, a careful composition. Then another, taken from farther away, where you can see the curve of the plaza and the shorthand of a celebration. A runner of petals that looks almost unplanned. A musician's shadow on a wall. The suggestion of clapping hands, cropped out so the moment can breathe. Each new picture widened the frame, and the story grew without them saying a word. Of course, with any story this delicate, the skepticism spills in. Could this be a styled shoot, a decoy, a scene from a project designed to fool us all? The cautious voices hedge their bets. But the emotional continuity tells a different tale. There is a softness in the shoulders that actors can mimic but can't fake in stillness. There is a steadiness in the gaze that doesn't perform. And the choice of Spain, of all places, speaks not of spectacle but sanctuary. Behind closed doors, friends reportedly called the night unforgettable. Not because it was grand, but because it was true. We're told there were toasts about patience, about a love that didn't need to announce itself but chose to last anyway. Laughter that slipped out like birds at dawn. A dance that wasn't choreographed, just comfortable. The kind where you can tell who leads without trying, because both are listening to the same rhythm. The way the story has swept across the internet tells you how hungry people are for this kind of romance. Not the glittering kind that disappears when the cameras go off, but the steady kind that looks you in the eye and says, "We're here, no matter who's watching." That's why this alleged wedding, real or not, has become the conversation of the season. It fits the couple like that dress fit her shoulders, like that suit fit his frame, like that city fit a promise. As the hours roll on, the promise of more material hangs in the air. Paparazzi hovering at airports, hoping for a return shot. Comment sections poised and refreshing, ready to catch a story as it drops. And through it all, Sinem and Ozan Baba remain silent, present only in these pictures that feel like postcards from a life they're living in private. The quiet is the point. It's the signature on the bottom of the page. What happens next? If the whispers are right, we'll get clarity, but on their terms. Maybe a single frame of interlocked fingers, a band of light catching a ring. Maybe a window shot, curtains drawn just enough to show two silhouettes. Or maybe nothing at all, and the mystery will go on humming like a song you can't place but find yourself humming anyway. The absence of proof will not stop the story now. It has its own momentum. It rolls forward the way a tide rolls, with the weight of collective imagination pushing it along. And that's how you know the impact is bigger than a headline. This isn't just about a possible ceremony in Spain. It's about two artists who have shaped their public lives carefully and may have just shaped their private life with the same intention. It's about choosing quiet when noise is easy, choosing intimacy when attention is currency. If those images are what they appear to be, then they didn't run away from us, they simply stepped into a space where love could be louder than applause. By now, every corner of the gossip world has an angle. Compare the sunset to famous weddings of the past. Analyze the timeline between projects. Chart the travel routes. But the human truth behind it all is simple, sometimes the most shocking move is softness. The boldest statement is a whisper. The most iconic look is a smile shared between two people who already know exactly what they have. And if you ask me, and you are, because you're here with Turkish Spotlight Secrets, this story will linger not because of the spectacle, but because of the feeling it leaves behind. That glow in the chest you get when a story lines up with your hope. That certainty that if you could have written it, you would have written it this way. You can almost hear the vows even if you weren't there. You can almost feel the warmth of the Spanish evening. You can almost see the moment when they both exhaled, together, and knew the day had closed around them like hands cupping a flame. So we wait. We refresh. We replay the images as if they're moving when they're still. We study every frame for reassurance that what we think happened really did. And through it all, we wish them the kind of happiness that doesn't need our approval and doesn't depend on our attention. Whether they post tonight or next week or never, the world has already decided this union, if it is a union, feels right. And if they choose to confirm it, they won't just be giving the tabloids a headline. They'll be giving their own story the single period it needs at the end of a perfectly formed sentence. Until then, the plaza stays warm in our memories, the sun hangs low just a little longer, and their silhouettes stand side by side against a backdrop that needs no decoration. Whatever comes next, remember this, the most talked about moments are not always the loudest. Sometimes, they're a quiet yes in a place far from home, where the only audience that matters is the one facing you. If that's not a love story built to last, I don't know what is. You've been listening to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you felt the spark the rest of the world is feeling, hit subscribe, drop a comment with your take, and share this with a friend who believes in sunsets, secrets, and happily ever afters. We'll be here, watching for that next whisper to turn into the moment no one can stop talking about.